Hey guys, so it's been a while since we featured KITT on the channel, and as you may know, in about 2 weeks we're going to be making an appearance with KITT at RetroCon in Oaks, PA, right outside of Philadelphia. That's September 24th and 25th. So if you can, come out, you can meet me, you can meet KITT, you can meet AJ, we'll have a good time. But in the meantime, this car, believe it or not, has not had a proper wash in years. Normally we'll just dust it off because it doesn't go on the road, so it doesn't get real dirty. But I thought I would try something today. I recently got one of those foam cannons, you know, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool to foam cannon KITT and clean him up? And I'm gonna see if I can make washing a car interesting enough for you guys. So we're gonna wash it kind of in real time. Maybe I'll share some secrets about the car as we're going through it, things like that. So let's get going. All right, here we go. Well, I don't think KITT's been this white since Junkyard Dog. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. So as you know, these are not, I've mentioned this in the past, these are not original T-tops. They're the aftermarket CNC Cars and Concepts ones. You can tell because of how thick this is right here. When this car was used on the show, as some of you know, it was a hardtop car. It was not a T-top car. The T-tops were added by Universal Studios in 1987. Actually, they sent this car to Cars and Concepts to have them convert it. And of course, we've got the clear non-defrost window. All original. In fact, if you look in here, I don't know if you can see it, there's still remnants of the tint from whenever the windows were tinted for the last few episodes of season 4. You know, one of these days I'll try and get this off, but there's a lot of it. You can see little bits of it in between these lines, which makes it kind of difficult to get off here. All right, so what else can we tell you? This whole rear quarter is full of body filler and rivets. And in fact, the body line, it's hard to tell, but it's much more bowed right here than a normal Trans Am. So we've got original Goodyear Eagle GT tires, not the repos. These are original from 1982. All right. And of course, we've got the rivet-on style trim on the side here. By season 2, all of the Knight Rider cars had this rivet-on trim. They didn't have the factory GM style. This car is in fact a Firebird, not a Trans Am. And they never bothered to put the Trans Am stone guards right there. There's not even a hole for them because this is a Firebird. As you can imagine, being a California car, there is zero rust, which is nice. There are rivets holding these air extractors on, these are the original air extractors. There's rivets holding them on because it was a stunt car and that's the way they did it. Get all this clean. Now I'm not really, it was really just dusty, so I'm not really collecting a lot of dirt here. But get all this clean. Maybe we should open the headlight doors. Some of you are asking about the headlight doors. I normally don't leave the scanner on when I'm cleaning, but I thought it'd be a cool effect. All right, original fog lights in there. Give them a washing too. They haven't been cleaned in, well, for a long time. Oh, there's some dirt on that one. How'd that happen? Original fog lights cleaned. All right. There we go. The original clear windshield. See, no tint at the top. So you can see right through, so it doesn't block the actors' faces. Get the other T-top here. All right, I guess we got a foam can on this side too. So let's do that. Set you up right here. There we go. Let's get this side foam cannoned. Or just foamed. I don't know what the right term is. Foam cannoned, foamed. In case you're wondering, I'm using just a foam cannon I bought on Amazon, Tool Daily. But then the stuff I use is by the chemical guys, and they make really, really good products. All right, let's continue on here. You can see here how the bumper doesn't totally line up, which this one, compared to some of the other originals, this bumper actually fits really nicely, but they were never an exact fit. Because no one was going to see them in 4K 40 years later, right? Right. All right. The window cleaned. I don't know if you can see this, how much paint is on the lock mechanism, because they would just literally cover the actual keyhole and just keep painting over it. Let's get that cleaned up. Car is mostly not in the sun, which is good, so this won't dry. But I didn't exactly have a good place to do this. All right, where it was all in shade. All right, one last foam cannon, or foaming, of the back end here. Let's see if we can do a point of view shot here. All right, I'll stand up. Let's go over this real quick. So this is not the original blackout. The original blackout was missing when we got the car. It's kind of to be expected, but the trim piece up here is original. We found it inside the car along with all the other ones, and the mounting holes, these screws down here, these are all, the brackets behind there are all original. This license plate is not an original from the show, but it was made by the same people that made the plates for the show. We have an original plate, but we didn't want to put it on here because we just didn't want it to get, weathered or anything like that, because they weren't meant to be outside for long periods of time. All right, so we got all that done. Let's go ahead and spray it off. Now, some of you might be wondering if the T-tops leak. Well, let's find out. going to attempt to avoid shooting this directly on the scanner bar because it's not waterproof. So hopefully we don't blow out any bulbs. But if we do, we have spares. Hopefully that door was closed. All right, I do see a little bit of moisture on the inside. Nothing terrible. Let's come around here, let's get the rest of the hood. There we go. All right. Clean as a whistle. A little bit of moisture, a little soap in there. Looks like there's maybe a little bit running down there. Oh yeah, we got a wet seat. We even got a wet steering wheel a little bit. So that's probably why we don't pressure wash kit ever, right? This seat looks pretty dry, so a little moisture in there, not too bad. All right, let's get her dried off, or him, I guess. Not her, him. So I'm just gonna use a squeegee and this absorber, which is what I usually use on vehicles. So let's start with the squeegee, get all the windows. I'm not too concerned, you know, this paint is by no means perfect. It wears 15 layers of paint from its days on the show, and it shows it. So we'll just do a little squeegeeing here, get it cleaned up. Then we'll go over it again with that absorber towel. So you see the holes in the defroster vent of the dash? Those are, this dash is not the stage dash, the insert dash, right? We determined in a previous video that we weren't able to put that back in the car without taking out the factory Trans Am dash pad. So, but the stage dash has those holes in it, so we replicated that for the dash that is in here. Just the little details. All right, get all this. Squeegeed off. Yeah, look at that. We definitely, well, it's because I guess because I had that door partially open. That's not really going to help anything, is it? All right. Let's go ahead and get our absorber towel here, and we'll go over the rest of the car. Are you guys enjoying this? Are you enjoying virtually washing an original car with me? No? Well, then why are you still watching? Shut her off. Go put on a rerun of Who's the Boss. Right? Otherwise, we're gonna finish drying this car. I don't know if you can see all the waves in the paint right here. There was some damage in the middle, but that's all right. And also, is it gonna show up all of the spider webbing here, which we've talked about in previous videos? All right. Fortunately, it's a nice low humidity day out, cool. So the car's drying off nicely even without me doing anything. These are the original tail lights behind the panel. You can see, maybe you can see the original Firebird and the Pontiac from the tail lights. These are Firebird tail lights, not Trans Am tail lights. So if you were to take that blackout off, you would see that the tail lights are not smoked. They are red, like Firebirds were. Because again, this is an 84 Firebird. It is not a Trans Am. One of only 2 actual Firebirds they use on the show as opposed to Trans Am. Let's go ahead and clean up my error here. Get the window cleaned up. Oh yeah, we got a little moisture in there. That's all right. It'll dry out. This car's been through much worse than a little bit of water inside. Yep, a little bit here too. How we doing? Just about done. Okay. Rubber front nose. You can see all of the hairline, the cracks, and even this is this chip right here is new for this year. So, you know, there's still going to be things that happen to it. It's almost 40 years old. We may end up repainting that front nose at some point. Okay. This all dried off. Looking good. For 40-year-old paint, it's shining up all right. Get those hubcaps. The hubcaps were missing from the show. I mean, from whenever we got the car, hubcaps were missing. Those are obviously production hubcaps, but we got a nice shine on the paint still, which is nice. I always hate this about, even with the Trans Ams I had, whenever you, water obviously gets in here, so when you open the door and then close it, all the water comes out from inside of that cavity. I really should take compressed air and blow that out. But let's go ahead and see. Let's do inside of this door, which I don't think we did. Get all this cleaned off. This, we opted not to replace the weather stripping, which probably doesn't help with the water. Well, this weather stripping at least. This one we had to. This one was all gone. This one we didn't because it's original, and it shows some of the original red paint from when this car was red, which it came red from the factory. And we've got our door sills that were added when it was on tour at the studio after the show ended. All right, this side didn't get nearly as wet. So let's go ahead and pop the trunk. Come on. Did that pop? Sometimes this thing's finicky. I don't think it popped. Is it not going to behave? Oh, it did pop. What am I doing? All right, so the trunk is a potpourri of stuff for car shows and different things like that. But I wanted to get in here and wipe off this stuff right here. So when we got the car, this panel got a little wet up here. Let's do this very carefully. This panel is original. We did not repaint it. All the panels in this car look like this when we got the car. they clearly just did a quick tan paint job on it. This was originally gray. This panel is normally for a car that has a rear wiper. This car did not. Look at that. See, it's still deteriorating. Anyways, this car did not have a rear wiper, but so this panel was from another Knight Rider car, and at some point it got swapped in here. But these panels, all these panels are original. They had this ugly brown carpet on them, which was covered in mouse pee, and it was disgusting. So at the time, this was 10 years ago when I redid the car, I put this carpet on, just a replacement carpet, and then painted these panels. Well, since that time, we found out that when this car was used on the show, it didn't have carpet on these panels at all. The carpet was added for its tour days, and the carpet is peeling up. It's not really looking good. So we decided to, and the tan I used at the time was not the correct tan color. It was off just a little bit and too shiny. So one of the projects this winter is to redo all these panels, take the carpet off. So I already redid this panel, and look how nice it looks. This is an original panel from the car. It had glue all over it, and it had that brown carpet. Later I added this carpet. So I ripped all that carpet off. I scrubbed and scrubbed. I got all the glue residue off. And then I got it re-dyed to the correct, 100% correct color. So all the panels are going to get redone to look like this, probably over the winter. But maybe you can see I don't know if you can see the color difference. This is too brown. This is what it should be. So another project. Lots of projects. Between this, the semi, hello semi. You know, something I just realized is the last time, I don't think I've had this car out. I haven't had this car out since the trailer came. So this car, the last time this car, the tractor, and the trailer were all this close together was on the set of The Wrong Crowd, because that's the episode where the semi's hijacked, and then there's a scene where they use this car literally right around the corner from where the semi is. So last time these have all been this close in 35 years. That's pretty cool. All right, how'd we do? Let's close up, take a look. Not bad. Looks pretty good. We still have to do the inside. It's something I just noticed. You see the rainbow here? This car's been leaking transmission fluid just a little bit for, well, almost a decade. And we're going to be rectifying that very soon too, but there was obviously a little bit under there, so it washed off here, so we're gonna have to spray the driveway off. But there you go. Car's looking better already. All right, let's take a break for 1 minute from all the action. We must take a few moments to thank our latest top tier flag agent Patreon supporters and answer some of the questions that you guys have posed to us. So if you guys aren't familiar with this flag agent top tier, we've talked about it in a few previous videos. We have a Patreon community, a wonderful growing Patreon community. And in that community, there's a number of tiers of support, right? And the top tier, we call the flag agents. Now, these are supporters who have the opportunity to ask us questions that we'll answer, live on a video, and we also, give them a shout out. So it's really neat. And in our Patreon community, beyond just being a flag agent, there's other tier levels. And no matter which tier level you're at, you get early access to all of our videos. You get exclusive videos like the really, really cool one we just posted. And beyond that, there's also, you get behind the scenes photos and some other stuff. So it's really something neat to check out if you're interested. If you are interested in joining our Patreon community, there's a link in the description below. There's also a link right here in the corner of this window, so you should check it out. All right, so with that said, let's go over our latest Flag Agent Patreon supporters. Bill Cahill. Bill, thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for your support. James Hart. James, again, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here. I hope you enjoy it. We've also had 2 supporters who have raised their level of support from a lower tier to the top tier Flag Agents. And those 2 people are Jason Smith and Red Car Guy. So Jason, Red Car Guy, thank you so much for your increased support. Also wanted to give a shout out to the All Things podcast and Isaac Holland. So Isaac is a 15-year-old who started this YouTube channel called the All Things Podcast. And a couple weeks ago, he did a podcast without our knowledge and was saying some wonderful things about the Knight Rider Historians channel. So I just wanted to give him a shout out. And if you can, check out his podcast. It's not devoted fully to Knight Rider. It's, like the title says, kind of all things, but it's definitely worth checking out. So if you're interested, just do a search for the All Things Podcast. All right. We did have a few questions come in this time that we're going to try our best to answer. All right, from SwissKnight2000.ch. Why does KITT's shifter knob look so different in some scenes? I do know that they were filmed on a stage, but the shifter, especially when KITT is in auto cruise, looks very different to a real shifter knob. Okay, so every single time you see a close-up of the shifter knob, outside of possibly some scenes in the pilot, but throughout the series, whenever you see the close-up, that is not in a car, that's actually on an insert center console, if you will, one that was sat on a soundstage. For the first 2 seasons, the shifter knob was a factory 1982 Trans Am shifter knob, except they removed the Pontiac emblem from the button, the button you press. Other than that, it was exactly the same. Starting in season 3, and for season 3 and season 4, they changed it up a little. The housing of the shifter was still the same, but the button, instead of it being a flat button, they put a raised button in there. So maybe that's the difference that you're noticing, but for the most part, it was a factory Trans Am shifter. And also, what's the story behind the bloopers of the show? How were they originally released to the public on what format? They made their way out. They were never officially released to the public. They made their way out in the early 2000s by a couple of the cast and crew members of the show. They were given VHS copies of the bloopers, and they made their way out that way. So it was never on any type of official release, but it was on VHS tape. All right, Matthew. Oh, you told me how to pronounce your last name. Was it Cookie? It wasn't Cookie. Kochi. Something like that. Sorry, Matthew. When did the cast and crew know the show was ending? Was it already declining and the writing was on the wall? Actually, no. The crew did not find out the show was ending until they were filming Voodoo Night, believe it or not. There's actually this great photo out there of Hasselhoff and Jack Gill on the set of Voodoo Night. So they're in, you remember the scene in Voodoo Night where Harana is having that party? And it was the staircase set, as we call it. It was on stage 1 at Universal, and it was this generic set that they would use throughout Knight Rider. I've talked about it a number of times in the past. So they were on this set, and there's a scene where there's a bench, and Hasselhoff's sitting there, and Jack Gill's sitting there, and Jack just looks really, not happy. And the rumor is, or the story we've been told behind that photo is, that's when they found out that they weren't being picked up for a 5th season. And it didn't come down to like the quality of writing or anything like that, I don't think. It came down to the fact that Universal was doing some cost-cutting measures around that time. So that's why, right around within a year of that, Knight Rider, A-Team, even Airwolf, which was on CBS, but it was Universal Studios. All those, got canceled. It was all a cost-cutting thing. And I think at the time they didn't even realize that the show would have a life in syndication. So they just kind of thought it was over at that point. So yeah, so they didn't know until they were filming the last episode. And Voodoo Night was actually the last episode filmed. You know, a lot of times the filming order and the airing order is out of whack. But in this case, Voodoo Night was actually the last one filmed in, I think, February of 1986. All right, so Dean Hansen. The question I have is, you stated, so the pilot presentation, you found the original paint scheme. So after that, they painted it white. I wonder why they did that and then went back to black later on. And also, do we have any photos of the truck in its pilot presentation paint scheme? All right. So Dean, no, we don't have any photos of the trailer, you know, outside of the screenshots from the scene at the end of the pilot. But here's my theory, and I'm pretty sure this is this is what happened. All right. So it was April of 1982, and they needed to film this pilot presentation, a 20 to 30 minute sizzle reel sort of some footage that they would then send to New York to NBC to sell the series. All right, so April of 1982, they had 3 Trans Ams, and they needed that trailer, they needed a semi for that last scene, because that very last scene in the pilot was filmed for the pilot presentation, not for the rest of the pilot, which wasn't filmed for a couple months later. So this pilot presentation, they needed this semi truck, and they painted it the black and gold with the Knight Industries on the side. Okay, so they did that end of April 1982. They filmed. We've been told it was only 1 day, but at most it was 2 days of filming. They filmed that, and then the series. You know, the rest of the pilot wasn't filmed until, I think it was July of 82. So like a couple months, 3 months later. My guess is, knowing Hollywood productions and how they work, is, you know, that tractor trailer, maybe it was needed for something else, for some other production, or maybe it was rented and they had to send it back at that time. And they were just going to they weren't going to keep the Knight Industries on the side because they didn't know if it was going to go to series. They didn't know what was going to happen. Maybe it was needed for another production and it was painted white again. You know, to us, it's a big deal to paint a tractor trailer. But for a studio like that, it's nothing, right? I mean, they'll literally just shoot over it. It doesn't matter. So when the series was picked up, you know, we don't see the semi until, I guess we see it in Deadly Maneuvers, but the next episode filmed after the pilot was Inside Out, and we do see it there, and it was white. The trailer was white. The tractor was still black and gold, but the trailer was white. So my guess is, you know, once they found out it was going to be picked up to series, they didn't want to paint the trailer again, maybe until they saw if the series was going to take off. I don't know. But yeah, my guess is it was painted Knight Industries with the Knight Industries black and gold for the pilot presentation. Then they needed it for something else. They didn't know if the show was going to take off. Whenever they needed the trailer again, they just, you know, kept it the white that they repainted it. It was the same trailer. We've talked about this. The tractor and the trailer was the same tractor and trailer from the pilot presentation into the actual series. But that's my guess. Okay, that's all we have for this week. So again, if you're interested, check out our Patreon link down below, and hope to see you there. There's some neat content. You aren't going to want to miss it. Thank you. All right, let's get back to it. All right, so I am going to, the inside's a little dusty too, because usually at shows, depending on the situation, I let people sit in the car. So, you know, having the door open, getting people in and out, it does get a little bit dirty. But again, this car's been through much worse. So I'm going to use this Lucas interior detail. This stuff's awesome. And just kind of clean up the dash a little bit. It's a little dusty here and there. I still have to get the countdown. I'm getting it fabricated to put it in here because I have the original countdown, but it's staying with the insert dash. So we need a replica one here. But other than that, we're in pretty good shape. But you can see here just the dust over time. And this is all original. You can see that it's been painted over a number of times. This is the original plastic. And if we get in here, you can see how Universal Studios, probably when it was on a theme park, they just kept painting painting it to make it look good. So it chipped off here, but the paint's still here. So it's, you know, it's certainly not perfect, but it's something the studio did. So, all right, let's see how we can do this. Maybe I'll just spray it. I don't want to spray it directly on the dash, so let's just spray a little right there. Get it all over my pants too. That's great. And let's get in here and just wipe the dash down. Oh yeah, that's looking so much better already. I guess we'll spray a little. Just little squirts up here. This way the car will be all ready for its big car show at RetroCon in a few weeks. Get all this cleaned up here. If you're wondering, these electronics are replicas. Again, the originals are with the insert dash, but I built these all by scratch with no electronics expertise, and they do static light up. They don't do anything else. But these are pretty much 100% exact to the show. I even made my own silk screens and silk screened all the everything on. So this is about as close as you can get, and helped having the originals to, you know, to reference. All right. Let's do the wheel here. Oh yeah, this stuff puts a nice shine on it all. The pods, as you can see, they're just zip tied in. I have to put the buttons in, and I think I'm going to take these out and try and do that before RetroCon, if I can find the time. That's always the struggle, right? Finding the time to do all this. Okay. There. It's a nice 5-minute wipe. Definitely looks better than it did. All right, turbo boost. Doesn't work. Great. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed the normally mundane task of washing a car, but this was no ordinary car, and I'm pretty sure this is the first time an original Knight Rider car has ever been the recipient of a foam cannon, so that was kind of cool, right? All right, if you like this video, please share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed. Thanks, and we'll talk to you soon.